Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. President Joe Biden says he has made his decision on how the U.S. will respond to the deaths of 3 American soldiers in the Middle East. Retaliation, escalation look increasingly likely. Those 3 Army reservists were killed and more than 30 of their comrades were injured over the weekend in a drone attack on their logistics base in northeast Jordan, right near the Syrian border. The dead include Sergeant William Rivers, 46, Specialist Kennedy Sanders, 24, and Specialist Brianna Moffett, who was just 23. The Army announcing today that Sanders and Moffett would be promoted posthumously. The 3 were killed, according to President Biden, by an unmanned aerial attack from, quote, Iran-backed militant groups operating in Syria and Iraq.
Yes. I do hold them responsible in the sense that they're supplying the weapons to the people who did it.
We should say Iran has issued a statement denying any tie to the attack. Its foreign minister said his country was not involved in the decision-making of militant groups, like the one that did claim responsibility for the attack, known as the Islamic Resistance in Iraq. Saturday's fatal attack was the latest in a series of escalatory strikes and counterstrikes throughout the region following the October 7th Hamas attacks in southern Israel and Israel's overwhelming military response. There's a sense in which the way things have played out appears to follow Hamas's plan, which was to commit an act of violence so outrageous it would evoke a massive reaction from Israel that could engulf the entire region. Remember back in the end of November when the New York Times reported on the intelligence failures in the lead up to October 7th, it cited the emails of a veteran Israeli analyst who had tracked Hamas's preparations. She told her bosses, quote, "It is a plan designed to start a war. It's not just a raid on a village." Despite those warnings, Hamas was able to pull off the horrific attack that left some 1,200 Israelis dead and over 120 hostages still to this day in Hamas custody. In response, Israel launched first airstrikes on Gaza, pursued a devastating ground invasion that has now gone on for more than 100 days. Those operations have killed nearly 27,000 Palestinians, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, at least 16,000 of which are women and children, according to the UN. The UN also says 1.7 million people have been displaced, more than 3/4 of the entire population of the Gaza Strip. Almost half of all buildings and homes in Gaza have been completely destroyed, according to the World Bank. It's worth noting, more than 100 days into this, that the only moment in this entire conflict where lives were saved and hostages were returned safely to their families was during the week-long pause back in November, the cessation of hostilities. There have been, over the last week or so, we know, talks of another possible pause and hostage deal. Hamas is demanding a broader agreement on the future of Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is rejecting demands that Israel withdraw from Gaza and release thousands of Palestinian detainees. But if the strategic aim of Hamas was, among other aims, to start a regional conflict, to put the Palestinian cause back at the center of the politics of the whole region, then it seems that every day they're having more and more success in that respect. There have been exchanges between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. Houthi rebels in Yemen have been seizing ships in the Red Sea, they say, to protest the continued Israeli military assault on Gaza. Militia groups in Iraq and Syria have attacked Americans still stationed there, and now this fatal strike on American troops in Jordan over the weekend. The U.S., for its part, has been hitting multiple targets, Houthi targets in Yemen, as well as targets in Iraq, where the remaining American presence is increasingly drawing protests in the Iraqi government. Many of the militias and proxies fueling this violence are, as President Biden says, funded by Iran, although it is much harder to say whether in any given attack those proxies are acting on their own or with Iranian coordination. What is clear is that throughout the region, there are now many different players exchanging blows, and an escalatory logic is kicking in, a logic taking hold not just among generals in the Pentagon, but among diplomats in the State Department.
What we do know is that Iran-backed militias are responsible for these continued attacks on U.S. forces, and that we will respond at a time and manner of our choosing.
We will respond. We will respond strongly. We will respond at a time and place of our choosing.
I've been talking to U.S. policymakers since the aftermath of October 7th, and one of the things they've been saying is they don't want a wider Middle East conflict. They say this. They're working hard to avoid it. Well, today, a wider Middle East conflict could destroy the extremely tenuous peace in Yemen that took 5 years of diplomacy to achieve. Countless more lives would be threatened on top of those who've already died. The price of oil would likely spike, create enormous political blowback, not just over there, but here in the U.S., a country already exhausted by years of war. President Biden, to his credit, his enduring credit, ended the longest of those wars with the withdrawal from Afghanistan 2.5 years ago. He got enormous amounts of criticism. It hurt his approval rating. He has largely resisted the loudest voices pushing for escalation against Iran, as the administration has sought a renewed Iranian nuclear deal, the one that was torn up by Donald Trump. But those voices pushing for war with Iran and escalation have grown even louder since last weekend's attack. Quote, hit Iran now, hit them hard, Senator Lindsey Graham posted to social media as the very first reports came in from Jordan. In case that wasn't clear enough, his Republican colleague, Senator John Cornyn, posted, quote, target Tehran. I don't know if he meant that as like a stand-in for the Iranian regime or like the actual city. The looming threat now is a familiar kind of one-dimensional U.S. logic for Middle Eastern intervention, which is to use military force to achieve your goals, and when that doesn't work, just use more force. It's a path we now appear to be moving down. And after 20 years of covering it, I personally find it very hard to see that path leading to anything good.